Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The government has reconsidered a recommendation from a joint select committee to give INDECOM prosecutorial powers. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck made the announcement in Parliament on Tuesday when he opened the debate on a motion to make changes to the INDECOM Act. INDECOM thought it had the powers to arrest, charge and prosecute members of the security forces, but in 2013, that was challenged by the Police Federation in the full court. The court ruled that INDECOM did have those powers. That was appealed by the Police Federation. In 2018, the appeal court said INDECOM did not have those powers. The Privy Council agreed in a ruling in May this year.
Mr. Speaker, in light of the Privy Council's ruling and the recent increase in the numbers of prosecutors in the DPP's office, the present administration reconsidered the Joint Select Committee's recommendation to vest INDECOM with prosecutorial powers and thought it no longer necessary for such prosecutorial powers to be given to INDECOM.
In 2015, a joint select committee of Parliament was established to review the INDECOM Act and its operations. Among other things, the committee recommended that the INDECOM Act be amended to explicitly give INDECOM prosecutorial powers. So now that the government has reconsidered that recommendation, focus is now on strengthening the office of the DPP to deal with INDECOM matters. Mr. Chuck notes that 2 prosecutors are currently assigned to INDECOM to deal with its cases based on a memorandum of understanding arrived at in March 2018 between the office of the DPP and INDECOM. Meanwhile, the Justice Minister says the government will be seeking to protect INDECOM from legal action during the period 2014 to 2018.
Upon the judgment of the full court in 2014, INDECOM did resume exercising prosecutorial powers, but desisted again when the Court of Appeal ruled in 2018 that they did not have such powers. According to Mr. Speaker, it is intended to bring to Parliament shortly a validation bill to validate and indemnify the actions taken by INDECOM during those periods.
Mr. Chuck says the government remains committed to strengthening the investigative powers and capabilities of INDECOM.
As such, this Honourable Parliament is being asked to note and support the Joint Select Committee report and adopt the remaining recommendations in this report. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in strengthening the investigative powers and capabilities of INDECOM, it is also proposed to, amongst other things, 1. Expand the functions of INDECOM to facilitate the sharing of information with other parties such as government agencies, special coroners, Commission of Inquiries, and the security forces.
In its May 2020 ruling, the Privy Council said INDECOM could not share material gathered in its investigations with any other party. And the Police Federation says some of the Justice Minister's comments in Parliament yesterday were careless and unfortunate. Chairman of the Federation, Detective Sergeant Petrero, says the minister has demonstrated that he does not have the interest of the police at heart. In an interview with TVJ News, Sergeant Rowe says he's particularly concerned about the plan by the government to protect INDECOM from legal action for prosecutions during the 2014 to 2018 period.
He is willing to put forward amendments in Parliament to prevent the officers that have legitimate redress for a breach of law committed by INDECOM, for INDECOM to be immune from these breaches. And we believe that this is unfortunate. And among other things, the minister's statement about INDECOM has reduced extrajudicial killing. As an attorney at law, the Police Federation held the minister to a higher standard, and we believe that his utterances in that regard did not give due regard for the facts and did not give due regard for the processes of law that would arrive at such a conclusion, and therefore we have deemed his utterances very careless.
He says the Police Federation has called a meeting with its executive to discuss the matter and will say more about the comments by the Justice Minister. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dunson Bryan, has revealed that consulting firm Market Me owns the intellectual property rights for the Jamaica Moves brand. Mr. Bryan made the revelation while speaking on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines yesterday. He said the Market Me registered the Jamaica Moves name and logo as its intellectual property.
Based on the information that was given to me when I assumed this office, I was made aware of the fact that the company had registered the Jamaica Moves logo and it's the intellectual property to them.
The company meaning Market Me registered Jamaica Moves to them?
Yes. And they were instructed by me to...
I beg your pardon, that came to your attention about when?
When I assumed office in the ministry.
Thank you. Yes. So you said that came to your attention, and then what?
And then we moved expeditiously to ask them to transfer ownership of the logo and all of its intellectual property over to the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Mr. Brian there speaking with Radio Jamaica's Dion Jackson Miller. He said about 8 months ago he wrote to Market Me requesting a transfer of the rights to the ministry. He said the transfer is expected to be completed by the end of August this year. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa Mackenzie says she's anticipating another spike in coronavirus cases in Jamaica. She's linked this to the massive number of cases in the United States, particularly Florida. Between Sunday and Monday, 35 persons in Jamaica were diagnosed with the virus. While Jamaica continues to have recoveries, the opening of the borders and the entry of tourists from North America have heightened concerns about the country's ability to test and detect cases coming from overseas. Concern has been raised that local testing is not capturing all the suspected cases and there are not enough controls to track persons once they arrive. Dr. Bisesa Mackenzie acknowledges that there is an increased risk.
So we're still seeing a low level of positives from within country, but tomorrow now we will be focusing on the arrivals and we will see what our positives are like. And I'm expecting that as we continue to test the arrivals, we will be seeing these kinds of numbers going into the weekend. That's my expectation because of what, of course, is happening in the U.S.
More emergency shelters have been identified in Port Moore St. Catherine in the event that Jamaica should experience a hurricane during the coronavirus pandemic. Details from Prince Moore.
Prevention is better than cure. It's why the Port Moore Municipal Corporation says it has activated its emergency preparedness. The corporation has identified additional emergency shelters in an effort to facilitate residents in vulnerable communities in case a hurricane hits the island. The additional shelters are expected to prevent overcrowding and enable physical distancing protocols. Mayor of Port Moore, Leon Thomas, says the municipality now has more than 20 emergency shelters.
Whatever that we are going to prepare for, we have to prepare to have maintain social distance. That's why we increase the shelters significantly within the municipality. We did have 10 before, and now we have over 20. If needs rise, then we will go to the National Arena, to the Twickenham Park Police Training Center or GC Foster College.
On Friday, a team from the Port Moore Municipal Corporation erected signs identifying emergency shelters and evacuation routes after an assessment was completed.
We have placed 12 large evacuation route signs and we have some small ones within the community, 24 within the community.
Several low-lying communities in Port Moore, such as Portsmouth, Waterford, Edgewater and Helsha, are vulnerable to flooding. It's why Chief Executive Officer of the Port Moore Municipal Corporation, Nadia Crosskill, says the signs are critical in the communities.
It is important for the residents of Port Moore to know where they should go should we have a disaster. So if the hurricane should arrive and persons are flooded out, it is important. The signs would tell them where they would be housed in case they have to leave their homes.
For the people who keep in dance and parties and things like that, anybody that pays anything over these emergency signs, the promoter will be charged.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
And we now take a break on the midday news. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. A man was shot and killed during an early morning security operation in the Amity area of Cambridge in St. James. Head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force Corporate Communications Unit, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, told the TVJ News that the man is believed to be Delano Wilmot, alias Precky Boy. He's said to be one of Jamaica's most wanted men. An M16 rifle containing several rounds of ammunition was seized during the operation. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is dissatisfied with the performance of the Jamaica Public Service Company JPS and the installation of LED streetlights. Mr. McKenzie took the Light and Power Company to task yesterday during his contribution to the sectoral debate in Parliament.
This government has been up front. The Minister of Finance, after lengthy discussions, we paid off, we liquidated the debt to the Jamaica Public Service Company. There is an understanding as to how they would proceed, Mr. Speaker. And I must report to this House that we are not comfortable.
The local government minister said 18,000 LED streetlights will be installed between now and November. Another 19,000 will be installed by the end of the fiscal year. The ministry will be meeting with the management of JPS to discuss weaknesses in implementing the streetlight program. Workers employed at the St. Anne's Bay Regional Hospital staged a protest this morning after a violent attack against an employee on Monday. The workers are upset over the incident and are demanding a meeting with the hospital's management.
The staff are really up in arms and disgruntled about the whole management of the issue, because they have not seen a member of the management team up to about 1 o'clock today, when the SMO came to the department to inquire as to what was happening. We have not seen no other member of the management team.
He said the police were called, but they did nothing to apprehend the men who were still on the compound. It's also alleged that senior members of staff assisted the attackers whose car had developed mechanical problems. Mr. Litchmore believes the failure of security officers at the hospital to follow procedures resulted in the employee being attacked.
That if securities are not allowed to part, fight and to stop disturbances like these, why are they here? Because this is a public compound where all different where people from all different cross sections would come from time to time. So if you cannot part a fight or stop something from then you're at the wrong place.
The union delegate said he expects a meeting to be called today by the hospital management to deal with the issues and outline the way forward. No road, no vote. That, according to some frustrated residents in St. Mary who took to the streets yesterday to protest poor road conditions in the area. The residents believe enough is not being done to improve the situation.
We're fed up and we're tired of it. We want road.
Potholes and cracked pavements are some of the road woes Brainerd residents in St. Mary say they have been enduring for over 20 years. One resident says the road conditions are so poor they think twice about making some trips, including going to the doctor. And to make matters worse, public transport operators don't want to operate in the community.
If we're sick, we don't have nothing to carry out. How much are we can hold on taxi if we're sick? On bike? Yes! We don't not more. You don't see the road. And them come on and say them what? You vote. If you vote, you get the road. How much vote they get?
The residents are calling on the government to deal with them fairly. They say road work was done in several nearby communities, but theirs was left out.
Me personally here, Mr. Holness, say him grant money from Freetown to Richmond. Him come and them do little piece of Richmond to Kenip. Then now them are do little from Freetown to down the road. So I'm to win at the middle. For we vote no count.
Because nowadays, when you look who are going to parliament, you know, everybody a leak on one another, you know. So why them a take me for fool? All of the little pit them around here, then go high school, them have them brains, the fool live here again. And the market chuck and bus. When they say a country people, them a water about them away got done. Them the days are done. So we need road, me say.
However, Mayor of Port Maria, Richard Query, is disputing the claims. He says work has been going on in some sections of Brainerd, but residents are frustrated because it's not been done in all sections.
So I find it very strange there was no demonstration when the entire road was bad for the 20 years. Now that one section has been repaired, the other section is being repaired, under repair right now as we speak. We have a demonstration to say if it is not the entire road, then don't fix any of it. To me, this makes absolutely no sense. I believe this is a political demonstration.
Mr. Query is appealing to the residents to be patient as there are financial constraints.
I must appeal to the citizens. Funds are not unlimited. That's a total of $140 million approximately being spent on this road section. I am pretty sure to fix the entire section would probably be in excess of $300-400 million. We have to understand that there are constraints. And if two sections are being fixed, then the next time we'll move to another section.
Kirkwright, TVJ News.
Residents of Rio Grande Valley in East Portland are complaining about the persistent water shortage in the farming community. They fear the situation will worsen as the country continues to grapple with the drought conditions. Now the residents are calling for the authorities to assist them in getting running water in their homes. One resident says she's been getting water from a nearby school in the area for domestic use. Other residents say they have resorted to other alternatives.
But we don't have no drinking water. It's hard for us, very hard, and we're glad and happy to get the water that we can get free. Go on.
Our lane, because water there backs you to the Avalon and Constant Spring. We run pipe and we take it from there to our house. Put it on the road, then we will buy a pipeline, that will be no problem.
Marcus Watson, a mason in the community, says he too suffers from the lack of running water. He's now working on a construction site.
We are fighting because life in mix and so we don't have no water and we have to wait long to get water from the river. So if we get the pipe, that is a nice way.
And time now for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the health report, we look at sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea also is associated with a number of medical complications. And therefore, if we see these medical complications, we oftentimes have to consider the possibility of sleep apnea. These include the early development of high blood pressure, the younger person gets a stroke or a heart attack, persons who have there may be an increased risk of developing diabetes. Persons may have these problems, and of course, when we see these problems, we always have to consider the possibility that we may be dealing with sleep apnea.
That's the health report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Maintain a healthy weight. Doctors commonly recommend people with sleep apnea to lose weight. Try yoga. Regular exercise can increase your energy level, strengthen your heart, and improve sleep apnea. Use a humidifier and avoid alcohol and smoking.
And time now for sports. Grooms at Caymanas Park are breathing a sigh of relief as local promoters of horse racing, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, stepped in recently and offered $500,000 towards their licensing fees. The Jamaica Racing Commission has waived the licensing fee, but despite getting a new carrier and reduced rate, the grooms say they're still struggling to pay the over $16,000 for the insurance portion of the fees. President of the Grooms Association of Jamaica, Fabian White, expressed his gratitude to the promoters and explained how the money will be shared among his members.
I will put $5,000 and you find the rest, because if you can help 100 man, a next 100 man, you can go again and ask somebody else for help. But my views, I want every single groom and Caymanas Park must have a license insurance. It's the only protection that we have.
Now, White outlined some of the other issues surrounding a shortage of grooms at the track and how he feels the problem can be rectified.
We are losing grooms to elder. We are losing groom trying to go overseas, right? And to get experienced groom, we are inviting even the youth and from the community, you know, who don't get yourself for that trouble. Come in the track, get a free hustle job. You don't have to find a police record. You don't have to, you just come in, and I also will try and help you towards your license.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Don't forget to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.